Thanks to the Chicago International Film Festival, I got to see one of my most anticipated films of the year, Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier, the follow-up to Worst Person in the World, a movie I love so much. My anticipation level was incredibly high, and let me tell you what I thought of this. Welcome back to Archer Vision, presented by MovieArcher.com. I'm Nico, and yes, Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier, follow-up to The Worst Person in the World, like I said, starring Renate Reinsve, Stellan Skarsgård, Inga Ibsdottir Elias, and Elle Fanning. Those round out our main cast here. The film follows a fractured relationship between an acclaimed director named Gustav Borg, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and his two estranged daughters, played by Reinsve and Lilius, and that situation becomes even more complicated, even more intense, when Gustav decides to make a personal film about their family history. Gustav Borg was once a really popular director who's now feeling like he's being forgotten, and he wants to make one last film that's going to be his ticket back to fame, and he's convinced that this story about his mother is going to be that ticket back to fame. He actually offers the lead role to Nora, played by Reinsve, who is a stage and television actress, and because he abandoned the family when they were younger, he does not communicate with them, especially not with her. She refuses. She does not want to be a part of this project, so that forces Gustav to turn to somebody else. So he hires an American actress named Rachel Kemp, played by Elle Fanning, to play the role in this film, and that makes everything so much more complicated. I was very excited for this film because The Worst Person in the World is one of my favorites of this decade, of the last few years. That movie means so much to me, especially what it did for me at the time I watched it. I just felt such a connection to it. So when I saw that Joachim Trier and Renate Reinsve were running back another movie, given the concept and everything, my expectations were very high. And what I'll tell you is this film not only met those expectations, it really exceeded them. What we have here is a very nuanced, very quiet film about a family reconnecting that soars because of how rich the characters are, how strong the performances are, and how the movie operates in a way that ends up being very, very fulfilling. I really want to praise the screenplay here because these characters are so rich, they're so complex, there's so much to them that as the movie continues to play out, the more we learn about them both individually and how they operate together just adds this layer of drama, this layer of tension that is so interesting to watch, and I found it particularly captivating. And the direction from Trier and the performances from the actors just make all of that shine so incredibly well. The way Trier visually, the visual language of this movie is outstanding. The way he blocks characters and the way he uses space and the situations he puts them in are it feels very tense. Just a conversation between a father and his two daughters feels like the most dramatic thing in the world because it is, given their dynamic, and the performers just absolutely nail it. And I think this movie thrives in the moments of quiet, in the moments where nothing is being spoken, and because of the richness of the writing and the places Trier is bringing these characters, just letting the performers do their thing. This movie does a lot of showing you, not telling you. It's you really need to be absorbing what's happening on the screen, paying attention to every detail, every micro expression from one of the performers, because all those little moments are the loudest, in my opinion. Some may argue the movie takes a little bit of time to get going, and I would tend to agree with that, but I think it also is just letting you sit with these characters so much to really get to know them so that as the story plays out, you understand everything. The movie also does this really clever way of like segmenting all the scenes. It really does feel like a series of vignettes put together. Some scenes happen, it cuts to black. You sit with the black for like a second or two, and then the next scene would start, and we play around with some flashbacks and stuff too to help flesh out some of the history that I thought was really, really effective. And these performances are they're just incredible. I have to start off with Renate Reinsve, who I think is operating at an elite level here. She really is one of our best. I firmly believe that. I think she's fantastic in everything she does. She brings so much to this role. It's a character who had one way of dealing with her upbringing and the lack of a father figure. She's a television and stage actress, relatively successful, but a very anxious character, a character with a lot of anxiety and depression, feels lonely and feels isolated, and that really shows some really dark, heavy scenes with her. And at the same time, her character also has a lot of charm and a lot of charisma too, and that whiplash back and forth is very fascinating to watch when she's around her family and her nephew. She's one way, and then when she's by herself. It's really heavy. You also see various things being channeled in her performances on the stage with her cast and crew, etc. Just a character who really does feel lost and is desperately seeking a new direction somehow. Stellan Skarsgård is the next performance, one that everyone is going to be talking about here. I think he is fantastic in this movie. Such an interesting role for him because it is so nuanced. He's a character who could easily fall into this camp of being unlikable or being villainized, right? Because yes, he abandoned his daughters and he sacrificed it all for this life of art and filmmaking and to be in the industry, etc. But what we see as this film plays out, and I don't want to spoil, is that there is a trauma, there is a history there that has very much affected him, that has not been healed, has not been resolved, and he's trying to do that through the only way he knows how to, through art. And that does not make him a good or bad person. I think you can argue he is a bad father, and at the same time, perhaps it's a character who didn't know how to be a father. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's so much to his character that's interesting that I really, really appreciated and was very engrossed by. I was very captivated by him. Every time he did something, he said something, it all felt like it had so much weight. The thing I want to keep saying about this movie is it is a movie where the payoff is everything. It is very fulfilling. It is very, I think, positive and chooses to lead with hope instead of doubling down on darkness and difficulty. I think, some may say that this movie is a little predictable, a little cliche. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think sometimes it's okay when a movie gives you exactly what you want, or in this case, it gave me exactly what I wanted. But I also think in a movie about a difficult family history, with a family who is disconnected, fractured, etc., I do think showing that it is not as simple as, well, we're fractured, so we're going to stay that way forever, or look, something changed in our life, and now we're going to be one big happy family, to let it operate in this very complex way where all these characters are imperfect and things that are unresolved and things that need to be communicated but they don't know how to communicate, I thought was just very, very fascinating to watch. It felt real and relatable too, and by the end of the film I think the movie is trying to tell you there's still time. There's always time to reconnect, there's always time to move forward, and there's always time to heal. It's never too late for any of that, and that message was a grand slam for me. It hit me like a ton of bricks, hit me like a freight train. This movie made me very, very emotional. My MVP of the film is Inga Ib's daughter Lilius, though. The performance is very quiet. It's very subtle, but I think the beauty in that is that's how her character operates. Her character is holding everything together. She's almost the glue that starts bringing everything together by the end of the film, and I think when the performance gets bigger for her and gets more emotional near the end of the film, she is what really makes a lot of the payoff so strong. Her character also dealt with something in a much different way than Nora. She found a husband. She has a child who is adorable, whom she loves, right? She's a very great mother. So she's trying to make something of her life and trying to create a family that she never had. And she's also a person in this story who is a little bit more, at least at the beginning, a little bit more optimistic and okay with what her dad's doing, because she is someone who just wants to try to have the family be all together, and her and Nora's relationship is so strong and interesting throughout, and their payoff near the end of the film is incredible. I wanted to come back to Elle Fanning because I think she's really, really great in here too. I think what's interesting about her and her role in this film, before this movie came out, before people saw it, she was sort of, I think, in people's minds who we all anticipated being the supporting actress standout from this film during award season. She would be the one that they push because she's on a really nice hot streak and her name and is out there, and we're trying to get her something. And I would say she's very, very good in the movie, but in terms of the character and performance, I do think I would rank it fourth of all of them. Not because it's bad by any means. I just think the character serves a very, very specific purpose, and I think by the time the film ends, it's the other three performances that are more lasting for me and that really bring everything home. Her character is so fascinating, though, because she is this young person, this young artist who is looking to be great and wants to make something legitimate, and she has this respect and acknowledgement of who Gustav Borg is and how his films have affected her and have motivated her to want to be better. And so their partnership feels very collaborative and creative, and you could see their special things in there. There's something that they're both looking for, and yet as the film goes on, you see it's that family piece, because this is a deeply family story to him, that's the missing link between them. And the way Skarsgård and Fanning, the way their performances progress over the film is really, really interesting. I think the movie will do a lot for your emotions. It's very emotional. I think there will be tears. I think you will be emotionally affected by it. I also think you're going to laugh. It's pretty funny in places. It's pretty charming in places. I think it looks great too. So many bright colors from Trier here. The film also, a lot of it takes place in the house all these characters grew up in. The house is also the center of the story Gustav wants to tell as well. It was their mother's house, and she passed away now, so there was talk of selling it, and there's a scene where the characters are going through items in the house, keeping what they want, keeping things with sentimental value, to name drop the film in there. And I thought the house operated like a character too, because the house was the source of all the history, of all the trauma. The house is really where the story takes place, the story that Gustav is trying to tell, but the very real story of this family. And also the detail. There's so many little moments and shots of the house where there's these little cracks or little imperfections in the house that were like such a great visual metaphor for like the fractured family dynamic as time went on. There was just so many little details that Trier brought in his direction that I just thought were fantastic. I absolutely adore this film. As you can tell, I can't stop talking about it. I have so much to say. It's certainly one of my favorites of the year. It's in my top 5 right now. I think this should be an awards player across the board. I think it should get a picture nomination, director, screenplay. Reinsva better be in Best Actress. I really want to see Lilius in that supporting lineup. We need to make that happen. Neon, we cannot F this up. We cannot drop the ball here. Lilius should be in that sporting lineup. If you want to put Fanning in there too, go ahead. And of course, Skarsgård he should be in the supporting actor lineup. And I know a lot of people have him in winning contention as well. SAG Ensemble, let's give it to him. This movie deserves recognition across the board, in my opinion. I'm giving it a very, very strong 9 out of 10. I just want you all to see it and love it too and talk to me about it. So when you see Sentimental Value, please comment in this video what you felt about it, and I cannot wait to hang with you all again very, very soon.